In today's episode, I'm sharing with you the wins that I have had in 2024 and what those experiences have taught me. Now, this episode is part of an end of year wrap mini series, and the first episode was published last week, number 52, where I shared with you the mistakes that I made in 2024 and what they taught me. But today we are all about the wins. And the really incredible thing is that because I have been following the 12-week year method this year, I have been able to track both my mistakes and my wins really carefully. And it is wonderful to be able to sit here now in December and reflect on all that I have achieved throughout 2024. Now, if you have no idea what I'm talking about when you hear the 12-week year method, go back and listen to episode number 5, Rethinking Your 2024, where I really dive a bit deeper into this concept. And also last week's episode, number 52, I touch on it as well. But essentially, because every 3 months is a brand new year following this principle, it means that you are really able to reflect on all that you have done and achieved and that you don't really forget anything, which I think is really, really beautiful. So focusing back then onto my wins, the first big win that I had of 2024 was that I got a lot more consistent with my YouTube channel. Now, I've had this YouTube channel for nearly 4 years. In January, it will actually be 4 years. And I'm really proud of how far I've come. Back in the early days, filming on an iPhone 8 Plus, with terrible audio and just kind of filming in my room, not really knowing what I was doing, to today, where I've become a lot more aware of the content I'm producing, the quality of what I'm producing, and the topics that I cover. Now, what really changed things for me this year was that I got a lot more consistent because up until now, I've always done my best to record at least one long form video every week. And, some months and some weeks were better than others. But this year, I got really laser focused and I made it a non negotiable that I was going to commit to this goal. And it's paid dividends. At the beginning part of this year, I was tracking my analytics and my channel saw a 200% growth. I had an influx of new subscribers. I reached 1 million views on my channel over the summer. And it's been incredible to see the trajectory of my channel throughout the course of 2024 as a result of my consistency. Now, I think when we hear the word consistency, we kind of think, okay, yeah, it's obvious. If you do something often enough, you become better at it and therefore you start to see results, right? But it's so funny how many people don't really follow this. They know about it, they understand the kind of meaning behind it, but they don't necessarily follow through on it themselves in their own lives. And then they wonder why they aren't achieving the things that they want to achieve. Consistency requires discipline. It has definitely required me personally to set boundaries and non-negotiables in order to be able to commit to this goal that I have set myself. And it does mean that, on my days off, I am working on my YouTube channel. But you see, the difference for me is that it doesn't feel like work. It doesn't feel like a job, even though it probably requires just as much energy and effort as one. It's something that I really enjoy and I'm passionate about. So for me, it's a pleasure to take time out on my day off to focus on my YouTube channel. And it's also really satisfying to see the hard work pay off. And so I think that has been the biggest thing for me this year. Consistency really is so important. Whatever you may be working on, whether it's learning a new skill, a new language, starting a new project, you've got to be consistent. And it doesn't have to be big leaps of consistency. It can be the tiniest steps. It can be committing to spend 10 or 15 minutes every single day on whatever it is you're working on and watching the growth as a result of that. That is how small consistency can begin. And of course, it can be as big as you want it to be. So I definitely value the importance of consistency. And I think more people should adopt that into their lives. The second big win for me of 2024 was that I published my second book. Now, this was something that I'm so proud of because I did publish a book back in 2020. So during the pandemic, it was my first ever book. I self-published it through Kindle. And although I'm really proud of that book now, at the time, I felt a little bit vulnerable because I was very open in that book about some of the struggles that I experienced, the breakdown I had in 2019. And I suddenly felt a little bit embarrassed that I had been so vulnerable. And as a result, I kind of stopped talking about that book, didn't promote it, and it was just there for people to buy, but I didn't really talk about it a lot. Now, I've kind of really embraced that a lot more now as the years have gone on. And I realized that that book contains some beautiful lessons and I'm really proud that I published it. I will link to the book below if you are interested. It is called Wake Up to Your Worth, and it contains 34 life-changing lessons that took me from breakdown to breakthrough. So it is a really beautiful book, and I am proud of it. But I think it was just for me, I suddenly felt this wave of shame because I had been so vulnerable in that book. I wasn't used to how that made me feel. With my second book, however, I took a different tact and I basically decided to create a book that was based on this very podcast. So, the first 40 episodes of season one of this podcast, I turned into this book called Lessons from the Boot. And the first book is volume one. And what I'm so proud of about this book is the sense that I have been able to dive even deeper into the topics that I have covered on this podcast. And I have really been able to kind of reflect even more on the things that I have been speaking about over the course of this year. I'm super happy because I went with a different publisher this time. I went with Draft to Digital, which meant that my book was able to be purchased from lots of different outlets and not just Amazon. The quality of the book feels better and I'm just super happy. It just feels more professional. And I feel like, this is it. The first thing that you produce is not necessarily going to be your best, but as you produce more and more, you get better. And that is something that I have learned from this entire process. I've also learned that you can pivot. This book was initially going to be called something completely different. It was going to be called a word, which I can't really say on here because I'll have to beep it, but it's a Sicilian dialect word that really does mean a number of different things. It means rude things. It means a part of the male anatomy. It also means something like fantastic or like, something terrible. It has multiple uses, but essentially I realized that I wasn't in alignment with that idea. And so as a result, I transitioned more into documenting my podcast into a book form, because I really do believe that listening to something and reading something are two very different experiences. And so that is where this book came from. And I'm really happy to say that, people have been buying it and I'm super happy and proud of this. I will put the link below as well to this book if you're interested in having a look. So yeah, that was a major, major win for me this year, actually following through and delivering on a book, but delivering on a book that was different to what I originally planned. But I think that's it. Learning to adapt, learning to get better and evolve. They are the lessons that I have taken from the writing of this book. The third big win of 2024 for me was to get a puppy. Now, if you follow me on YouTube, you will already be familiar with Tina. She features in some of my videos. If you follow me on Instagram, again, you will already be familiar with her because there are lots of photos of her there. But having a puppy has been transformational for me. It completely changed our year because we didn't really have a proper summer this year because she couldn't leave the house. She needed to have her vaccines. And as a result, we were at home a lot more over the summer, which was a little difficult at times because it was so hot. But it's wonderful to have a dog. And I've never really kind of thought about this before because I was a police officer, and in the police, you see dogs that are quite aggressive. They haven't been raised very well by their owners. And as a result, I always had a bit of a cautious relationship with dogs. I never felt comfortable with a dog unless I really got to know it. But having Tina has changed that for me. And even living here in Italy has changed that. So many people have dogs here, and I've gotten to know other people's dogs and started to feel comfortable with the idea of having one for myself. And she is wonderful. And, there was an amazing quote that I saw on social media that said, "You don't get the dog you want, you get the dog you need." And I would say that that is so true about Tina. She teaches me so much about myself. And also, in a way, she helps me. She helps to calm me down. She helps to relax me. And she helps to take my mind off anything that I'm, worried about or thinking about at that time. So it's a really beautiful experience. And, it's wonderful because we will take her to places now. And I'm excited to show her Sicily and show her Italy and take her around with us. And she's like an extension of our family, and it's beautiful. And I'm so, so happy to have her. So that was a major win for me. And it's definitely taught me a lot more about myself and my character, but also about how beautiful dogs are. Like, literally, I read the most beautiful poem a few weeks ago, and it said something like, it was a poem like written from the viewpoint of a dog, and it was like, you might be angry with me, but I'll always love you. You might go out and leave me to go to work, but I'm always here waiting for you when you come back. Oh my gosh, it was so beautiful. I wish I'd screenshot it, but it's this. And the unconditional love of an animal, of a pet, is irreplaceable. And so that was a huge win for me this year in terms of getting a dog. Okay, win number 4 for me this year was actually getting to go to Google's head office in London. This was an incredible opportunity. I received an invitation to go to an exclusive event at Google's head office in London, where I got to meet other creators. It was amazing. And, I felt so proud to be there. It was a select event, invitation only, and it was beautiful. It was wonderful. I connected with so many people. I learned so much. I felt super proud of my journey. And I learned so much as well about appreciation and value, because Google stroke YouTube, because Google owns YouTube, they really value their creators. They throw these events for creators that are completely free, with drink and food and incredible guest speakers and amazing locations. And they show you how much they respect and value you. And this isn't always the case in every single aspect of everyday life. Not many employers are like this. And so to experience that was wonderful. It really made me see my worth, and it made me see that I want to continue growing and flourishing on this channel. YouTube is amazing. There are so many social media platforms, and I really recognize, for me personally, how YouTube for me tops all of them, because I don't see the same kind of support necessarily from Instagram, or I'm not on TikTok, but I don't see them having like parties for their creators. So I really do think that YouTube is amazing, and going to that event really opened my eyes as to what an incredible organization they are and how happy I am to be a part of this journey. Okay, my next win of 2024 was that I created my very first digital product, and this was a digital travel guide for Salerno. Again, I will put the link below in the show notes if you want to have a look. And I'm so proud because it meant that I got to go back to Salerno. I booked a trip there at the beginning part of this year to be able to capture some up-to-date content. And it was wonderful to go back. It was wonderful to revisit Salerno. It felt like visiting a long lost friend. And it was also wonderful to come back because I've definitely outgrown that city. And it was wonderful to go back and recognize just how far I've come in the 2 years that I've been away from there. But it was also incredible to put together this travel guide and to see so many of you have bought it, and I hope benefited from the information that I've shared, so that you can learn to love Salerno in the same way that I do. And so I'm really proud of that. It took a while to put together, but I did it. 46 pages of information, a bonus YouTube video, everything you could need really to fully enjoy your trip to Salerno. So go and have a look in the show notes if you're thinking of visiting there next year, or you know somebody who is, send them the link. But yeah, that was an incredible achievement of mine, my very first digital product, and it will be the first of many because I'm ready to create some more digital products in 2025 as well. And I think the final win that I really want to kind of capture for today's episode. There were others, but I would be here for quite some time because it's been a good year this year in terms of the things that I've been able to do. But my final win, I would say, is that I have really learned the importance of community. And this is something that I want to take into 2025. And we'll be talking about the 2025 goals next episode, next week. But I really, really, really want to embrace community even more. So many people, especially on social media, chase the numbers. So many people chase the followers, chase the subscribers, but that is a vanity metric. What really matters on all of these social platforms is the community that you're building. Social media, the whole purpose of it is based on engagement. You could have a channel with 100,000 followers, but if you only have 4 or 5 people that engage with you, that's not a successful channel in terms of how social media views it. A successful channel is one that is fully engaged. And I have seen over the past 12 months how engaged my audience have been, especially on YouTube. I had my end of year stats through, and I had like over 3,000 comments on my videos over the course of the year. If you divide that by 12, that's over 150 comments every month. Like, that's insane. I'm so happy. And these are not just like good, well done, bravo, like, thumbs up comments. People literally write essays on my videos, and I love that. I love the fact that somebody sits and takes their time to share their opinions and their thoughts. It's beautiful. And, like, this is what I want to continue to build into next year. But it's also something that I'm so proud that I've been able to create this year, because it's not easy to grow a community on social media, especially if you're on YouTube. That is a difficult platform to master. But it's so rewarding when you see the results of your work. I would really say community is everything. And if you are looking just for the numbers, just for show, just for ego, it's not what it's about. There's no sense in having a high number, but nobody engaging with what you're producing. Because for me, that is not a successful channel. And for most people, it's not either. You need to have an engaged audience, because I read somewhere, and I can't remember where it was. I think this is taken from a book, but essentially, is it like, I don't know if it's like 100, 500, or 1,000. I don't remember. There's a magic number where that is the amount of people you need to have who are engaged with your content to really make success. And it's not hundreds of thousands, it's quite a small number. And so it's this, like, you don't need hundreds of followers to make a go of yourself on social media. You just need a few key engaged fans, and that's it. And so this year, 2024, has been rather wonderful for the things that I've been able to focus on and achieve. And I hope that you've gained something as well through the experiences that I've shared in this episode. And I will see you in the next episode.